Camel crossing.
We are Mongolian people.
I love these so much. Yeah, this gig is definitely a stretch for me, guys. You want to come along?
这就是我小时候在电视剧看到的画面，成吉思汗战争的时候。
And I'm so glad we're not in the US right now because like you would get shot. You can't do that. Welcome to the China-Mongolia border zone. Today, we'll be making a 200-kilometer bike journey from the Ulan Buton grassland, which is a scenic tourist spot filled with yurt hotels and road trippers, to Blue Banner, an obscure region heavily inhabited by ethnic Mongolians. What is modern life like in the China-Mongolia border zone, otherwise known as Inner Mongolia? And is it really worth visiting the grasslands in a season where there's no grass? We've all seen that Windows background. You know the one I'm talking about, with the green hills and the blue sky. That's what this place is known for, actually. But what happens when you come here during the off-season? So here we are at Ulan Buton grassland. The lush green summer grass has already been turned into hay bales, and the stubble that remains is being gnawed on by herds of fat-tailed sheep and horses. So quiet and empty is this place that the milk tea shop didn't even bother turning on their screens, and they're now using a handwritten menu. Nevertheless, this was the first bubble tea place we'd encountered in 2 weeks, a testament to how popular this place is during the peak season. A thriving little town has been built out of this otherwise very quiet grassland.
Okay, y'all, story time. So I was just walking down this street, enjoying the night vibes, and I heard someone yelling behind me. They're like, hello, 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 hello. And then it turns out they are looking for someone to be their model. And they're like, we want your exotic face. I don't know, they worded it in a less weird way, but that's basically what they meant. Like they want this face. And I'm not actually very good at modeling. I don't know how to like strike a pose or like make a face that is appealing, but it's 500 RMB. So I was like, okay, I'll find some way to make my face do the things they want it to do for this portrait thing. So yeah, I'm gonna be a model tomorrow in the dead grass. See you there.
It's not my vibe, but gotta get that bread, you know? You know what this outfit reminds me of? My great-grandparents' closet. I used to go in there when I was growing up. Every summer we'd go to Vermont and I would dig around in their closet and pull out outfits that looked kind of like this and try them on and like strut around in my grandma's childhood home. And I've not worn something like this literally since then. We're almost there, guys. I am under instructions to be as quiet as possible and don't chat with any of the photographers, because if I chat with them, they might find out that I was not actually brought here from Beijing and I'm like this fancy model. I'm actually this literal random stranger they picked up off the street. They gave Aysajan a pomegranate in exchange for being here. Yeah, this gig is definitely a stretch for me, guys, but gotta get that bread, you know? I forgot. I'm supposed to be These are my childhood autumn memories right here. Used to go to the, what's it called, the pumpkin patch and climb all over these things. During the off-season, the summer waves of tourists give way to a more niche group of travelers, such as photographers coming to record the autumn scenery. Many of them like to have a subject in their shots, which is why I'm sitting on this hay bale in a 1900s dress, pretending to read this fake book. There were also 2 other girls modeling that day who were much more professional than me, but I did my best. There's only so many facial expressions I know how to make. So lucrative is the market for perfectly curated grassland photos that there are entire aesthetic grassland vibe scenes that are completely staged, so you can be guaranteed a perfect photo instead of wandering around and relying on luck and serendipity alone. Last item of the day, we are at this big field here, and there's a huge group of horses running back and forth, not for any specific purpose, except to give people something to photograph. It is a horse photographing zone. I'm already with this group, so I get a free pass to photograph the horses. I forgot my camera though, because I didn't know this was gonna be happening. There are too many drones. I don't know which one is ours. By complete coincidence, in our efforts to get away from the main crowd and avoid a possible collision with the wall of drones, we went so far off to the side that we actually ended up nearly getting run over by the horses as they left the pen after their 6th or 7th consecutive run back and forth. Ironically, this was the best shot we got out of the entire thing.
Mission accomplished! We filmed the horses running. I still have to say I like the shots from the other day better. We were on this cold mountain road, all alone on the way to our inn, and just as I got the drone off the ground, these horses came through, and we got this amazing shot of the horses going into the forest. There was nobody else around, nobody's drone in my way. It wasn't staged, it wasn't planned, it just happened like so perfectly. And here it was like, wow, this is really cool, but it's just missing that serendipity element to it that is like so important to everything I film. It was cool, but I would still prefer the random encounter with like 8 horses in the middle of nowhere. We are heading to another part of the grassland today to show you guys more dead grass, but in different landform shapes. So this is why we chose to come here in the fall, you guys. We got that mountain to ourselves for an hour, and look at this forest. Look at it. Look at it. Oh my gosh. It's so beautiful. You know what makes this landscape so fascinating to me is the lack of trees on the mountains. Like there's little patches here and there, like the one we're standing in. It's like the mountains are wearing lingerie. Like they're almost naked, but then there's just like a little bit here and there, you know? Like to intrigue you, like, ooh, mysterious. And then you want to like go in the forest and walk around.
We didn't come here for the grass itself. We came here to admire the vastness of the landscape at this unique time of year when nature's canvas is splashed with as many colors as possible.
The depths of silence where echoes remain. You were the sunrise, and I was the rain. A collision of souls, opposing in flight. I was the darkness, yearned for the light. Now you're gone, and I'm losing my mind, losing my mind, I'm losing my mind. Now you're gone. Why did you cut me up, bring me out, and leave me high?
This is such a fascinating landscape. It's like grassland, forest, and desert all at once. And there are some efforts underway to prevent the desert part of this because too much desert in an area that was supposed to be a grassland is not ideal. On some of the dunes, like the one behind me, you can see a crisscross pattern. It's a material they've put underneath the sand to help keep everything in place and hopefully allowing plants to take root and turn this back into happy, healthy soil again. Because as soon as the plants are gone and that sand is exposed, that's when the wind can start blowing it away, and then the desert just spreads and spreads and spreads. Deserts are cool if they're like naturally in a place, but we don't need any more deserts on this earth. So they're also planting a lot of trees around here. Anything to keep that soil in place. We have this whole landscape to ourselves. No restaurants, no hotels, no KTV, no convenience stores. There's nothing but us and the birds and the grass and the trees.
And me.
You were the laughter that kept me alive. You were hello, and I was goodbye. An ember that flickered, that faded away. You were the summer.
We're here! Look how cute this is! There's so many flowers. Here's their little sunroom, little porch thing. So this is the place we're staying at.
It's run by this lovely lady who is the only one living in a several-mile radius in this big, vast grassland. She now has a thriving little business going with her inn, but on the side of the property, you can also see the old home she lived in less than a decade ago.
This is the old house this family used to live in before they moved into this new house and they made this little inn. So we're gonna check this thing out. Time capsule. In most places in China, people will knock these old houses down and build something else on the property, but clearly there is no lack of land here. I love how her family preserved this old architecture here and also kept everything in the way it would look if someone was actually living there. Here's the old-fashioned stove, kindling stove. And this is the kang that you have a fire going underneath and it's nice and warm in the winter. These are classic old-fashioned tin bowls and cups.
这个是我小时候我们家也有做后面。
Nice little retro mirror over here. Here's an old-fashioned sink. You wash your hands in this bowl. Hang the towel over the top here. Oh, this is classic. Little red book with Chairman Mao quotes. This mirror is so cute. Look at all the little patterns on it. So not only did the owner of this place preserve her own old family home, she's also preserved some old yurts in here. She's now using them as storage rooms, but just a few decades ago, a lot of people living in this region were using yurts like this for their nomadic or semi-nomadic lifestyle. Even though everyone is settled in houses now, it's still common to see yurts in the yards of rural areas in certain parts of Inner Mongolia. Despite all the lifestyle changes that have taken place in this region over the past few decades, the legacy of Chinggis Khan among the Mongolian people lives on. You can see posters and tapestries of him in restaurants and shops all over Inner Mongolia. And this little inn in the middle of nowhere is no exception. This inn also has another Inner Mongolia classic, the Yurt Hotel. If anyone's curious, here's what the inside of one of them looks like. They're super cute, but also quite expensive to stay in, and we are on a limited budget. We also tend to choose food that is on the cheaper side, but despite the fact that we ordered literally the cheapest thing on the entire menu, the inn owner gave us such a luxurious breakfast with all these extra things. The owner of the inn gave us some Mongolian-style milk tea to start off this lovely morning. I've tried this before, and I always struggle to adapt to the fact that it's salty and not sweet. But hey, I'm gonna give it another try. And you're supposed to put these little barley nuggets in there. It's just a little grain nugget that you put in there. The little crunchy things are a game changer. Something about that little crunch just makes all the flavors come together. It's pretty solid. And this is basically a tomato soup with noodle chunks in it. You get a different texture experience with every spoonful because every chunk is different. A very exciting culinary experience. We stay in cute little rural inns like this one as much as possible because not only can you experience local life up close and personal, the owners are also generally pretty friendly and like to chat with guests instead of just beep boop, here's your room card, bye. However, at the time this was filmed, a major national holiday was about to begin. So we only stayed for one night and then headed towards Duolun County, which from the sound of it is a pretty obscure place and should be safe from swarms of tourists during the October 1st holiday. Even though it's off-season in the grassland right now, there is no such thing as off-season during Golden Week. Anything even remotely interesting will be swarmed with people. And that is why we are heading out into the absolute middle of nowhere. And if you thought we were already in the middle of nowhere, well, it can get a whole lot more middle of nowhere than this. Goodbye bubble tea, goodbye street food, goodbye yurt hotels. Yurt hotel with air conditioners. I feel like the yurt has lost a bit of its soul when it's sitting on a concrete slab though.
他很抨击我呀。
会吗？
对呀。他真跟你走了。
Of course, my first impulse is to think, look at this whiny baby. But then I do have to remember that his hometown has camels, and my hometown does not have camels. So is there something he knows that I don't? Indeed, there are many creatures on these lonely roads, actually way more horses, sheep, cows, and camels than there are humans. While some of the locals still use horses to herd their livestock, if you see this many horses in one space, you can be almost guaranteed that their purpose is to give tourists rides, which means we are still in the Golden Week danger zone. We must continue to flee into the boondocks. This place looks like rural Southern Virginia. This has given me childhood nostalgia here. 我是美国的，他是新疆的。
美国不像，那你的脸蛋还长了一点，长一点还可以。
美国专家发言了。
As we made our way through the landscape, the rolling hills slowly transformed into flatter and flatter terrain, and we finally started to see farms and villages.
Very chill, laid-back life in this village. Even the pigs are free range.
Countless hay bales and potato trucks later, we arrived in Duolun. Despite being located in Inner Mongolia, it actually reminds me a lot of Shanxi province because it has so much cool architecture around every corner.
So this is what the modern section of the city looks like, and we're about to head into what appears to be an older area, but yeah, if you're curious, most of Duolun actually looks like this.
野生真蘑、肉蘑、松蘑了啊。
These are like the local social currency here. Extend a friendly greeting to a stranger. Apple. Thank someone for supporting your small business. Apple. People are constantly giving us these little apples. I think it's so cute. Wow, look at those big boys. We are in the older section now. There is some really cool architecture over here. Like the modern part is nice. Love having my hey tea, my mishui bingcheng, you know. There's a lot of good food over there, but the architecture here is just so cool. This is what? Is it a temple?
庙是庙，
这个庙有多少年了呀？
这个庙有个200多年。在这儿搞啥来了？
骑行。
我们从大连骑过来的。你看我那车子，小伙子。你那个车很有年代感。
这是20美元，这相当于100块钱。20美元。
这是谁？
是我们的一个总统，忘了第几个。
第一任总统是华盛顿吗？
对，但是这个不是他，因为中国的钱都是毛主席，不管多少钱都毛主席。美国是不同的钱，不同的人。
Interestingly, we also found a Tibetan Buddhist temple here.
Prayer wheels! First prayer wheel sighting of our journey. Every time you spin the wheel, it sends your prayer into the universe.
Beautiful architecture like this definitely would have been swarmed if it was located closer to a major city, but even during Golden Week, it was actually very quiet. It was so quiet here, we could have almost forgotten the holiday exists in the first place, if not for all of the mooncakes for sale celebrating the Mid-Autumn Festival.
These are handmade mooncakes. You can tell because the shape is very imperfect, but that's the best kind. It's like buying cookies from the store and they're all a perfect circle. Of course, the ones you make at home that are kind of like wonky are the best ones. Every one is a little bit different. Red date filling. It's so fresh. It's literally still warm. It's still soft. You know, I didn't like these when I first came to China. I always felt disappointed by them, but that's because I was getting the pre-made ones in the store. When you buy them from the bakery, they are 5 stars.
Now it's time to say goodbye to city life and begin our 2-day journey to a Mongolian majority town located to the northwest of here.
Aysajan made a friend. Butthole like 1 inch away from my face. Cool. This cat is like tangling itself all around the bike to stop us from leaving. This is one of the friendliest village cats I've ever encountered. Usually they're just like, who are you? Leave me alone. I have never seen such a clingy cat in my entire life. This cat is like demanding for me to kidnap it. I don't know where you're going, but take me.
This cat ran after us as though we'd raised it its whole life. While it's not socially acceptable to steal other people's cats, we did give it a little joyride. I hope this cat treasures this precious memory forever.
Cow crossing. The potato harvest is underway. Loading up the potato truck.
你们是蒙古族吗？彝族，四川彝族。
四川，你们跑这么远啊？
每年捡这个土的季节，我们彝族大部分都在。
That night, we stayed in this little village that happened to have a few guest houses. It looks like a quiet place, but it was surprisingly noisy at night. And let me show you guys the soundtrack going on outside. Good morning, everyone, from Inner Mongolia.
Good morning, my dear friends. Have a nice day.
Got some beautiful fall leaves over here. Starting off our morning with some noodle chunk soup. We finally heard someone speaking Mongolian. This guy just walked in the restaurant and tried to talk to the owner, and she was like, bro, hold up. The population of Inner Mongolia as a whole is about 20% ethnic Mongolians. In this place, called Blue Banner, the ratio is about 50%. So we're finally going to be able to see some Mongolian villages after we cross through several hours of scrubland and Serengeti-looking terrain.
So for most of the landscape leading up to this, it was grass that had been turned into hay bales to feed the cows and horses during the winter. And all of a sudden, we have left behind the perfectly mowed grass and we are in the scrublands. Boar alert! We're in boar territory! As much as we enjoyed seeing the rural areas, it's also really refreshing to see this place in a more natural state. Wild, untrimmed autumn grassland.
Take a train ride just to see you. Ride for hours just to please you. You don't know how much I need you. 'Cause you're my home away from home, away from home, away from being alone.
"这个植物好像我老家也有，我小时候玩它，它成熟以后，我用那个打火机，啪哧。
First human settlement we've seen in an hour. Right here. Aysajan is curious if the people living in this neighborhood are ethnically Mongolian. I think they are, not just because of the yard yurt, but also because the name of this village is unpronounceable, which pretty much gives you the answer right there. But he wants to ask and see if they're Mongolian. So as you guys probably know, Aysajan is one of China's ethnic minorities. He's actually from one of the biggest ethnic minorities, the Uyghurs. So when we're traveling around the country, he loves to meet other ethnic minorities, which is cute and wholesome and whatever, but sometimes it entails walking into random people's yards to ask them. And I'm so glad we're not in the US right now because like you would get shot. You can't do that. Look at this, he just like rolled up in this person's yard.
那个奶奶我说话她听不懂。
The rural areas here really remind me of the US because the houses are so far back from the road. People clearly like their silence and their privacy and that feeling of having a gigantic, vast swath of grass in front of your house. But a lot of the rest of China, people seem to like living alongside the road. It might be noisier and there's less privacy, but it means you can open a shop, you can open a restaurant, you can like make money off people coming by. Also, in most of the rest of the country, the houses tend to be clustered together into a little village, and here they are all so spaced out. So that's a big reason why this place reminds me so much of the rural US, because it's the exact same way there. Like you want to be really far from the road, you want to be really far from your neighbors, you just want your own quiet, isolated little bubble.
Every once in a while, we also encountered one of these 2 or 3 or 4 house clusters, which I assume are close family members, still nowhere near the scale of villages in most of the country. The yurt culture is quite ingrained here, and not only did we see tons of yurts in people's yards, we also saw a yurt wedding venue.
Usually in China, weddings are held in hotels or restaurants or other multifunctional locations, but the sign out there says this is specifically for weddings. Look at this.
If you're wondering how much it costs to hold a wedding in this beautiful yurt, it actually depends on the number of guests you have. As with most places in China, you don't have a flat rate for the venue when you're holding a wedding. You pay for the amount of tables, or basically the amount of food. They probably have a minimum guest number though before you think about trying to book this for just one table.
一个桌子多少钱
800到1000都有。
我老家最多400
Golden Week is peak wedding season, and this venue was booked today. It's just that the wedding happened literally hours ago. Just down the road, we also stumbled into another event going on.
They're all dressed up in their traditional outfits to celebrate someone's 60th birthday, which is apparently like a really important thing around here.
61、73。
这个数字是怎么选的呀？
小孩就13嘛，就过12年就少25了，25了就成年了嘛，然后就长大了就这种老人了，就61加个12，73还得过一次。
It's actually pretty common in a lot of places in China to make a big celebration out of reaching a certain age milestone as an elderly person.
I think that's so wholesome that turning 60 is a gigantic shindig here where everyone puts on their cutest outfits and goes to like have this big party at a venue.
My parents are both over 60 and they do not want to talk about it, let alone have a gigantic celebration.
但是这个牛还挺贵的。
So tonight, we're having some local Mongolian cuisine. There are so many restaurants we didn't know how to choose, so we asked 2 random guys we met in the village, and they recommended this place. So in we go. Classic North China beaded curtain.
我老家也有，我是新疆人。新疆人。是美国的。
I love these so much. They already give us so many things we haven't even ordered yet. Tibetan-inspired teapot. Super cute. Cute little doodad over the door. Of course, we got our bro up here. Dinner is here. Authentic Mongolian meal. We got this rehydrated beef jerky right here. Beans. The vegetables are bomb. But the meat itself is just a little bit too tough, which is our fault for getting a jerky version of this. But they said it was the most popular one. But the vegetables are great. 你们自己家的马吗？
生了孩子以后，上学啥的都是学费都是全免的，是吗？
从幼儿园到高中是这样的，
对吧？
对，然后上了大学你会加倍的补上这个钱。We were so busy chatting with random people that we didn't book a hotel in time. So we are finally feeling the wrath of Golden Week, and it's not tourists, it's locals who are coming to this town for events like weddings, funerals, 61st birthdays. There are so many people in this town right now. The hotels are all full. We see people coming into the hotels and then being like sent away. Like it's happening right in front of our eyes. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like this before, ever.
So even though it was the middle of the night, we decided to just start heading in the direction of the neighboring city about 50 kilometers away. If we find a hotel, we'll stay there. If we can't, all right then, pitch our backup tent in a field.
Look how spooky everything looks when it's dark. This is just a normal haystack, but now it's a spooky haystack.
And about 15 minutes later, on this very quiet back road, we actually did find a hotel that was completely free of the swarms because it seemed no one even knew it existed. And the next morning, it was time to head to the city center of Blue Banner.
This hotel happens to be located right by the local sheep market.
Full transparency here, guys. Aside from these 3 baby cows frolicking in a field, today's route was the most boring one we've experienced since we began this bike tour in July.
Hello, how are you? Hello, hello, how are you?
English Corner is in session today.
I am fine. How are you today?
6 hours of English Corner and random podcasts later, we finally arrived in the city center of Blue Banner.
Wandering through some random neighborhoods right now, and I just had to show you guys the yurt graffiti.
刚才在路上有一个大爷给我说蒙古语，然后我听不懂。你好，不好意思，我来自新疆。
Check this out. The Mongolian language version of a spring festival couplet.
The Mongolian language actually has two scripts. There's the Cyrillic script used in the country of Mongolia due to Soviet influence from the mid-1900s, and there is the traditional script, which was adapted from the Old Uyghur alphabet by Tata Tonga, a Uyghur scribe captured by Chinggis Khan. Aysajan loves to talk about it with every Mongolian we meet, minus the captured part.
他们的蒙文是我们维吾尔族发明的。成吉思汗有个女婿是我们新疆人，吐鲁番人。
This is what looks like an athletic field of like a university or something. It's got that same vibe, but actually it's just part of the local plaza. It is also the location of wrestling matches. We missed a wrestling match just this morning because we were on the road coming over here from the town we were at last night. It took us 6 hours to get here. By the time we arrived, they were packing up something. We were like, what's this? And they were like, there was a wrestling match. And we missed it. You just cannot have it all.
今天表现怎么样？
还行吧，我昨
天没休息好。
哦。
But we did get to see some people wrestling just for fun.
相机啊，我在拍视频呢，在记录美好时光。
你是哪儿的？
美国。
这比美国好不？
那要看哪一方面，对吧？有些方面好，有些方面没有美国好。
美国有是大骡子吗？
有这个吗？
可能吧，但是没见过。
这个是2块，这个1块，卖。
给推销一下子吧。
这个萝卜不来，你看多称了。
自己家种的啊。
脆空，你吃一个不？
Bro is literally just walking around this plaza holding his turnips, just like waiting for someone to buy them. And they've tried to sell me the turnips like 3 times already. They saw Aysajan come over and they're like trying to sell him the turnips. And it's just like, I'm not gonna eat a raw turnip, okay? But it is cute, honestly. It's wholesome.
不用厨房，这是现在洗一洗就能吃。
The people of this tiny city are so outgoing. We had more encounters with friendly strangers in this one place in this one evening than the previous week combined.
美国。We are Mongolian people. Oh, alright, to meet you. 对，特朗普马斯克。我们在上电视吗？哎，这是你们家的马吗？哦，这是我的马。你叫什么名字？可以啊。哇，6000块钱。这个还得了2万呀，这个得了。我们也是可以上电视的。你是可以啊 ，American。可以。那你们会吗？那个摔跤？我们2个摔一个吗？你们2个摔一个我看看。你们都会啊？只有男孩子都会是吗？对。哇塞，可以小朋友们。So we missed the official wrestling competition, but we got to see an unofficial wrestling competition outside some random grocery store, and that was pretty wholesome as well. But that's all for our time here in Zhenglanqi.
Thank you all for joining us on our journey through the autumn grasslands. Yeah, it's a bit of an unconventional time to be traveling in this region, but it was such a fascinating experience nevertheless. From the colorful autumn leaves to the ever-changing landscapes, from the amazing architecture to the friendly people, we had an unforgettable experience in this unique region, and I hope you all found it interesting too.
We are about to get on a bus tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We are going to be shuttled into the middle of nowhere. Once you see where we're going, you'll realize like why we're not bringing the bikes. It's way too far. It's just like desert upon desert upon desert upon desert. We are so excited to see it, so excited to share it with you guys. So very juicy things coming up in the next couple of vlogs. I will see you next time.